Let's go over the answers to homework 8. And, before you look at this video, please make a good faith effort to try to answer homework 8 on your own. Also, I have posted the answers to homework 8 on Moodle, so you certainly don't need to watch this video if you did this and you understand the answers based on Moodle. Okay, so this is a game where there is player 1 is a person who might either be macho, meaning really tough, or wimpy. Player 2 is the bully, and the bully would like to pick a fight with player 1 if and only if player 1 is a wimp. So you have a bully, he likes to fight, but he only likes fights that he knows he can win. And it turns out if player 1 is macho, the bully won't do very well in the fight, whereas if player 1 is a wimp, the bully will win a fight and he'll get pleasure from the fight. Player 1 does not want to fight even if he's macho. Now, nature will determine whether player 1 is macho or wimpy, and player 1 will know that. Like as in the games for the last problem set, player 1 knows his type. Player 2 has uncertainty over whether player 1 is macho or wimpy. But before player 2 decides whether he picks a fight with player 1, player 2 can observe what player 1 had for breakfast. And it turns out in this world that if you are a wimp, you would rather eat quiche than drink beer for breakfast. Whereas if you are macho, you would much rather drink beer for breakfast than have quiche. This, by the way, comes from a stupid meme from a long time ago. Real men don't eat quiche. Get it? It has no deep meaning at all. And this is a version of a famous game. In games here, I'm giving you kind of a simplified version of it, but they use the sort of beer-quiche distinction. So player 2, knowing that wimps like quiche more than beer, and macho people like beer more than quiche, will observe what player 1 has for breakfast, and then decide whether to pick a fight. Player 2 will realize, hey, this bully, he's watching what I have for breakfast, then he's going to make a decision over whether or not he wants to pick a fight with me. So player 1 has two objectives, right? First of all, he wants what he wants for breakfast, and he doesn't want to fight. So both the macho and wimp don't want to fight, and the macho wants to have beer for breakfast, and the wimp wants to have quiche. So, you can see there might be a bit of a problem here, a bit of a trade-off. So we put in all the payoffs, as you can see in front of you. So that's, if you look at the question, you should be able to fill out the diagram the way I did. And you'll see that for the macho person, drinking beer is a dominant strategy. So even though the macho guy would rather not fight, if drinking beer were to cause him to get into a fight, and not drinking beer, having quiche, would cause him to escape the fight, it's not worth it. So the macho guy likes beer so much that he's willing to drink beer even if it would cause him to get into a fight. So the macho guy has a dominant strategy of drinking beer. The wimp, though, that's not true. The wimp prioritizes not getting into a fight. So you can see if eating quiche led to a fight, the wimp would get -10, whereas if drinking beer would cause him not to fight, he would get 1, so that's better. So the macho guy, just because of the payoffs, is not willing to sacrifice his first choice breakfast to avoid the bully. The wimp definitely is. So the wimp wants quiche, but he more wants to not fight. So this leads us, right, once we figured out this is a dominant strategy, it's the only dominant strategy in the game, you should be able to see, that allows us to figure out what the bully's going to do if he sees a quiche eater. So the bully will say to himself, macho guy, never, ever, ever going to eat quiche. The only person who might eat quiche is the wimp. So if I see a quiche eater, I'm going to pick a fight. So we get this. So this, of course, means the wimp is realized, I eat quiche, I'm getting -10. not very good. But that doesn't mean that the wimp is going to drink beer, because it's even worse. This is not the worst outcome. The worst outcome is if the wimp drinks beer, but still gets in a fight. So what's likely to happen? Well, we don't know. We can't perfectly solve this game. We don't have enough information. It's going to be depending on the P sub m. But here's what I think is likely to happen. Imagine that P sub m is very high. So most people are macho, and the bully knows this. So the bully's like, all right, let's say P sub m is 0.9. The bully's like, all right, 90% of the people are macho. If the bully observes someone eating quiche, he'll say, oh, you're a quiche eater, you're an exception, I'll pick a fight with you. But what if we're in a pooling equilibrium? Everyone is drinking beer. Well, in this equilibrium, the bully's like, I can't figure out who among the beer drinkers are wimps because everyone's drinking beer, but I'm not going to pick a fight. Because if everyone's drinking beer, I'll estimate 90% chance if I observe a beer drinker, that person is macho, and it's just, for my payoffs, it's just not worth it. Now, in contrast, imagine that most people are wimps. So if 90% of people are wimps, now the bully will say, okay, if everyone is drinking beer, I'm going to pick a fight because it's worth it for me to take a chance. If most people are wimps, then if I see someone drinking beer and I think we're in a pooling equilibrium where everyone drinks beer, I'm just going to pick a fight with everyone. And yes, sometimes it won't go well for me, but because of my payoffs, it's worth it. If the chance of somebody being a wimp it's not 100%, but it's it's about 50%, it's worth it for me to pick a fight. And that means there won't exist a beer drinking pooling equilibrium if P sub m is sufficiently low. Basically, if most people are wimps, there can't exist an equilibrium where everyone drinks beer, because then the bully would just be like, I can't figure out who's who, but probably if I pick a fight with this guy, he's a wimp and it'll make me happy, so I'll just fight everyone, at which point the wimps will say, wait a minute, I'm not going to drink beer and then have to get into a fight? That gives me my worst outcome. I mean, if the bully's going to fight me no matter what I do, I'm eating what I want for breakfast. At which point, if P sub m is sufficiently low, there won't exist an equilibrium in this kind of game. There will if we allowed mixed strategies, but I'm not doing that. But basically, there won't exist an equilibrium. There is a pooling equilibrium where everyone drinks beer if P sub m is sufficiently high. So I think what is going on here can maybe relate to some things about whether you want to fit in or not. So often, many people, we don't quite fit in, and we don't fit in, at least if we behave naturally. We don't fit in ways that are socially costly. Maybe, it doesn't have to be someone to pick a fight with us, but people won't treat us the way we would like them to. Now we have the option of changing our behavior maybe. It might be possible to hide. Is it worth hiding what you're really like in order for people not to mistreat you? Well, that depends on whether you can get away with hiding or not, right? The worst outcome is you try to hide what you're like, people basically guess anyway, and they treat you badly anyway. Then it's not worth it. And it is worth it maybe, it depends on your payoffs. In this game, it is worth it. Doesn't mean it is in every situation. It is worth it to hide if, if you can get away with it and people won't think that you have, the trait that they're going to pick on you for. Well, thank you for listening.